Good day, YouTube. So I thought we'd talk a little bit today about all my previous motorhomes I've had over the years and why I chose this one.
So I try to forget it any way I can. Keep on rocking in the free world.
In a van down by the river.
Keep on rocking in the free world. Keep on rocking in the free world.
Alright, so a lot of you probably don't know that this is not my first venture into off-grid RV living, and I've actually had quite a few vans and motorhomes over the years. In fact, since I turned 16, and actually a few months before I turned 16, I've been living in camper vans and motorhomes about 70% of the time. Sometimes for many years straight, sometimes part-time, and as is the case right now, full-time again. I always end up back doing it, and I'm always happier when I'm back in an RV, always. So when I was just over 15, I met this dude, really awesome guy in Vancouver. I was sitting in a coffee shop and he came over and asked me for a light. I gave him a light. We started chatting, and it turned out he just bought a cargo van, a Ford Econoline E150 empty panel van, no windows, nothing. And he started converting it into his little house. He showed it to me and I fell in love with it. Nice wood interior, sink, icebox, bed. And I was just thinking, geez, this is such a good idea. So I started buying auto traders and buy and sells. That was before the days of the internet, Craigslist and all this stuff now. And looking at, I started looking at camper vans. I was driving around a scooter at the time, big Honda Helix scooter. It was so much fun. But I was living at home back when I was 15, obviously. And it was actually getting to the point where my mother was starting to yell at me about paying rent soon and getting out of the house and getting a job. You know, we all went through that at that age. And I thought, geez, I'd love to get out of the house. I'd love to have my own place, but I don't want to pay rent. And this idea of not being stuck in one place all the time and having to go home to the same place every time really appealed to me. So, long story short, within about 2 weeks, I sold the scooter, took the money, and went and bought my first camper van. It was a 1979 Dodge Extended 19-foot converted camper van with the full-length pop-top roof. Looks something like this. I don't really have any of the actual pictures, but it's pretty much the same. Lived in that for a while, and boy, it was the time of my life. Parked at my old high school, and all my friends would come over, and we'd pretty much party in the high school parking lot every night. It wasn't just me there. There were a lot of other people in their campers there too. I didn't use the fridge much. I wasn't really into the whole off-gridding thing. I obviously didn't have solar panels, any of that stuff. Had an AM radio. We didn't even have an FM radio in that thing. So when my buddy Bernie in his van, the guy I was telling you about, parked next to me, we'd park with our doors open across from each other, and he had a good sound system with FM radio. Woo! And so we'd have little van parties there. And I'd have about 9-10 people come over every day after school, whatnot, and we'd hang out there. It was kind of the high school hangout. And we got a blue box, a recycling box, and we'd fill it with snow from the ice rink next to the school. You know, whenever they drive the Zamboni over the rink and do the ice, there would be piles of snow outside behind the ice rink. So we go over and grab snow, throw it in the blue box, and there would be a place to keep all our beers and coolers cold. It was pretty brazen, right in the parking lot at a high school, open alcohol, but we never got in shit for it. It was pretty fun. So there began my adventure in the gypsy lifestyle, beach bumming and all that. I ended up going through quite a few camper vans. I had another Dodge Ram getaway van. I got a cool wide body van. It used to be an airport shuttle converted into a camper. Then I got a Class C, 21-foot Dodge chassis Class C Frontier. And then moved into another Class C. It was an older Tioga Class C. It was pretty unique. It had a raised bedroom at the front over the cab. Not like most Class Cs, it was actually raised up an extra foot, so you could sit straight up and still have room up above your head. I lived in there with my girlfriend and a cat for a couple of years. And then I sold that and upgraded, I guess upgrading, depends on the way you look at it, to a much larger 26-foot Leocraft Class A. It had seating for about 15 people in it. It had 3 beds. It had a bathtub in the back. It had a floor-to-ceiling fridge. Total overkill. And then ended up living in other places for a while. And the whole time I wasn't living in an RV, I was always missing the lifestyle. I really missed it. Missed the freedom to go park down at the beach, go explore, find new places, park at friends' houses, wherever. Just really missed the lifestyle. Lo and behold, here I am back in an RV. In this situation, it's a little bit different. I came into some money the end of last year due to some sad circumstances. Let's just say it was partly because of an inheritance. But on a happier note, I was able to go shopping and afford to buy a new rig. I searched long and hard. I searched for months looking for the right rig. Having experience in both in Class A's, Class B's, and Class C's, I decided that the Class B was the best way to go for a multitude of reasons. Number 1, drivability, maneuverability, gas mileage. Obviously all good things about Class B's. This is my daily driver. When I had that Class A, really didn't want to have to drive around very much. So it wasn't very good for city urban camping, because you'd have to be constantly be careful where you park. There's length bylaws in Vancouver, for example. If you're over 21 feet on a city street, they can ding you with a ticket if they get a complaint. You know, there's a lot of people that do it, but it's just another reason for them to come down on you. You're taking up more than one parking spot, people tend to get upset at you, especially in residential neighborhoods and business areas and things like that. Plus, you obviously stick out like a sore thumb because not too many people park Class A's on city streets. Also the stealth factor. Yes, I know a lot of people claim that a cargo van is the best for stealth. I'd agree, of course. The less it looks like a camper, the more likely you're going to get away with stealth camping, but I've never had an issue with one of these because there are camper vans, Class B's, everywhere. Almost on every block you'll find one. Regardless of whether someone's living in it or not, they're everywhere. People use them all the time as second vehicles, daily drivers, family vehicles. So they're a very common sight to see, and they blend right in just as well as a work truck, just as well as any cube vans, or there's a lot of high top vans out there, wheelchair vans, you name it. So the average Joe in the public does not know the difference between a Class B motorhome and a high top wheelchair van when they're walking by or driving by. So yeah, there's that, and also build quality. Most Class C's and a lot of Class A's are the infamous stick and tin construction, where it's basically just an empty chassis behind the van cab, at least for a Class C, behind the van cab, and just square walls with pretty thin wood frames, insulation, and then paneling on the inside. There are so many problems with them when you drive. They twist and they warp, and over time all the seals start breaking and they start leaking, and the problem is they start rotting, and then you got all sorts of structural problems, mold, mildew. It's quite common. Class B's, like this on the other hand, even if this springs a leak on one of the windows or roof vent, there is no wood in the walls. It's steel and fiberglass for the back half of it, and then insulation, and then another layer of fiberglass, or vinyl in this case. And this one's got all sorts of materials, but there's nothing to rot in here. it's more sturdy, it's more rigid when you're driving around. Things still twist and turn a bit, but it's not so frail. And they'll last a lot longer, and they're definitely a lot higher quality than most Class C's. That's, kind of a catch-22 though, because the cost of a Class B is usually a lot higher than a Class C, as most of you know. In fact, generally speaking, the smaller the RV, the higher the price. I could have bought 2, maybe 3 really nice Class C's the same year as this. This is a 98 for probably the same price that I paid for this. I could have got definitely a 35 foot Winnebago for half the price of this. But there's a reason why those cost less. Not just the build quality and all that, but nobody really wants them so much. At least not guys like us. Retirees who just buy a motorhome to park in their driveway all year and then drive straight to a trailer park or an RV park and plug it in, it doesn't matter. But for those that are going to use them a lot and drive them around as an actual vehicle, they're just overkill. And I really would not go back to having a Class A. Maybe a Class C, but it would have to be a small one, 21, 20 feet maybe, like this. So this was definitely the kind of the best of both worlds. This has all the amenities that the Class C and the Class A I had before. It doesn't have a bathtub, but it does have a shower. I don't need a bathtub. I don't need a bed over top. I use it for storage most of the time anyways in most of my Class C's. So it's just wind resistance, the drag on the front, it just lowers the gas mileage, just creates more problems for leaks. Don't need it. Might be different if you're a family or you have kids or whatever. It's a great place for them. It is sleepable up there, but I'm much more comfortable sleeping in the back. I just walk in the back and I plunk down. I don't have to climb up any ladders or anything like that. So definitely for that. Gas mileage, of course, like I said, is a big difference. I can pull 15 to 18 miles per gallon on this, depending on how I drive and whether it's highway and city. On my Class A, I was lucky to get 7, maybe 6 miles per gallon. Class C, maybe about 10. So definitely some big differences at the end of the month there for your pocketbook.